Hi, this is Craig Delger with a sleeping bag buying guide video for gearbuyer.com. I recently published a sleeping bag buying guide article over at gearbuyer.com, and I'm making this video as a companion to that article. I'll put a link to that article in the description below, and I'll also embed this video on that buying guide article over at gearbuyer.com, so be sure to check it out. I'll have additional information over there. The reason I want to make this video is to go over the decision tree that I put in that article. The decision tree just covers the primary questions to ask yourself when selecting a new sleeping bag. The number one question that I think really tells you which path to go down in terms of deciding which sleeping bag type to purchase is, are you going to be carrying that sleeping bag? If you're going to be sticking the sleeping bag in a backpack, like you're backpacking or mountaineering, etc., that is going to dictate the preferred insulation type to use in the sleeping bag, as well as the shape of the sleeping bag. Specifically, you're going to want to look at a mummy sleeping bag because the narrower cut at the foot box of the mummy sleeping bag helps reduce weight and reduce the amount of materials and insulation that are used, so it compresses smaller. Also, it means that you're going to be having to heat up less dead airspace in the sleeping bag, so it's more thermally efficient. The preferred insulation, if you're going to be carrying a sleeping bag, is go with down. The reason is that no other insulation provides as high of warmth to weight as down does. Synthetics don't come close to it. Also, down is much more compressible than synthetic insulation. So for a comparably rated sleeping bag in terms of its temperature rating, your down sleeping bag is going to weigh less and it's going to compress smaller, and that's very important if you're backpacking or mountaineering. The only reason I would not steer you towards a down sleeping bag if you're going to be backpacking or mountaineering is if you're going to be doing it in extremely wet environments. Historically, that means you want to go to a synthetic sleeping bag because down products do not hold up well in a wet or humid environment. But in recent years, there's been a lot of progress done with the treatments they're applying to down to make it hydrophobic or water resistant, waterproof. I have tested that out and it does work. I'm talking about Sierra Design's dry down, or all the different sleeping bags are now using Down Tech as a waterproof or hydrophobic down product. So for most cases, I'm going to go with a down sleeping bag, and if I'm going to use it in a wet environment, I'm going to go with one of the new waterproof or hydrophobic down sleeping bags. Also, developments in the fabric technology allow a lot of the moisture to just not ever get near the down. So if you're not going to be carrying the sleeping bag, your buying options become much broader. And what's most important then is comfort, durability, and price. Comfort probably being the number one attribute for me to look at. The mummy-shaped sleeping bags, while they're thermally efficient and they cut weight, they aren't as comfortable to sleep in for most people. Most people would prefer a roomier sleeping bag. So if you're going to be car camping, using it in a cabin or a recreational vehicle, you don't need to sleep in one of these form-fitting or narrow-cut mummy sleeping bags. Go with a large rectangular sleeping bag. Also, go with your personal preference for the lining material. It could be a flannel-lined rectangular sleeping bag that uses an inexpensive synthetic insulation. That's perfectly fine for car camping, and you can get a really good, comfortable, roomy sleeping bag for less than $200 because you're not using these real high-performance fabrics and really extremely high-quality down. As far as durability of those, you're not going to be stuffing them into a very small compression sack and fracturing the synthetic fibers as easily as you would if you were stuffing that synthetic sleeping bag into a stuff sack or compression sack to fit inside your backpack if you're mountaineering or backpacking. So that is my overview of the decision tree that I put together. Please check out the article where I cover specific features like draft collars, draft tubes around the zipper, different shapes, and we go into more detail in terms of fill power versus fill weight and down versus synthetic insulation. Thanks for watching.